Welcome to This Week in Metropolis. The transmission will begin shortly.
King P here,
And S1E7.
and welcome to another episode of This Week in Metropolis. What I wanted to start with this week, which leads on from what we've spoken a bit about Westworld. You're a particular fan of the program Westworld,
Indeed.
and it's I think it's meant to be in the future. I'm correct, aren't I? Or do they not really give a timeline
Yeah,
as
they
such
don't
for
give
it?
I guess the technology in it would give the assumption that it is a little bit
robots
further
and
in
so on.
Yeah.
Well, something I've read about it, it's something I've been waiting for a very long while, because it's just a dream come true more than anything else. Is the Star Wars land, which has been built in California, in Disneyland in California, and I think, from reading about it, really it's the closest we're going to come to Westworld for a little while. I don't know whether you've read anything about it
I haven't,
or
no.
seen anything about it. So what they've done is that they've created a separate section of Disneyland. Now doing it in Florida as well, and it is pretty much a reproduction of Mos Eisley Spaceport, which, if you remember in the episode 4, when Obi-Wan and Luke go and first meet Han Solo, and they got the cantina bar and doing their funny creatures in it and so
Yeah.
on. They've created that whole thing pretty much from scratch. It has got a name. I can't remember the name of the actual place. They've named it as a location. Can't remember. Apologies. It's a Black Spire outpost. Oh no, I think that's a possibly another part of it. Anyhow, yeah, they've created this thing. What they've done is really clever as well. Is they've dug down before they've actually built it, and the reason they did that is so that when you're in there, you can't see any of the rest of the park. So
Right.
you think it gives you this impression of being somewhere else. So you've got the height of the buildings, but you don't see anything else in the park. But
Okay.
I digress. The thing what really for me adds the to Westworld sort of tinge, for want of a better word, of it, is the people that are there that work for Disney are actually in character, a lot of them. So when you speak to them, they will be people from the rebellion, or they will be local people that live in that particular location, and they will say to you, "Oh, be careful! Don't talk about this thing because the Empire are listening." And one example that was given in the thing I read about it was, so this guy who was doing the review spoke to someone who he recognised. I think there's an app which you can follow and sort of scan things and find out what they are. He recognised someone who was supposed to be a character from the rebellion, and he spoke to them about their fight against the Empire and so on. They're all completely in character. They were having this conversation. Later on, there was someone else from the rebellion there. They remembered his name and said, "Oh, John, let's say, John, may the force be with you," or whatever. I hear you're a fan of our cause. And it just continued this whole thing throughout, which is just insane. But the thing for me, which again, I hope to go, and it's definitely something I want to do, is you can build your own lightsaber.
Wow.
But
That's cool.
how they've done it, in the rest of the place, you've got the cantina bar where you can go and you can drink with sort of all these aliens and stuff. So there are actual shops and that which are staged. But to build your own lightsaber, it's not as simple as just going into shop. You have to find it, and you have to follow a map, and you go down this alley, and there's a place called Savvy's Workshop, and you apparently go to this place and say, I want to build a lightsaber, and the person there goes, oh, we don't do that, we've only got junk here. And you have to say, I'm interested in this junk, and they let you in, and then it's completely in character. There's someone there, and he sells you the pieces, and they teach you how to put the bits together, and insane.
I mean,
Absolutely insane.
it sounds awesome. The size of it, I'm guessing, is there any details on how big the whole park, if we call it a set park, whatever you want to call it, is?
I'm not sure.
Because the reason I asked that is because how many people are going to be flowing through it all at once? Do you know what I mean? It's not just going to be you walking about. If you're lucky enough to get over there and go to it, there's going to be lots of people. Is it big enough and vast enough for there to be lots going on all at the same time?
And I admit that. Well, just to tell you the size, so I've just seen that it's 14 acres.
Cool. Wow, that is big.
So yeah, it's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah.
But you're right. It's when you see, because the pictures I saw of it were of, on the opening day. I guess it was when they had the press going around, so you could see there was a lot less people there. But it's what they've done is I think you have 4 hours in there. Okay. So it's they filter people through so that it minimises that, everyone packed in there. So I guess that's the thing that would take the illusion off a little bit, because people there in their Disney t-shirts and carrier bags and stuff like that.
Star Wars is such a huge franchise that the appeal worldwide to go to something like that would be extreme. So you can imagine the amount of people that would want to be taking part in it.
That's it. Exactly. It's going to be an enormous draw, isn't it, for anyone who's even slightly interested in it.
Does it mention anything about cost or anything like that, or is it just part of the Disney experience?
I believe it's just part of the Disney experience. There are bits I think, I'm guessing they sort of earn their money from buying, the drink and the food.
Any sort of merch and anything.
That's it. All of that stuff. There's a 100-foot replica of the Millennium Falcon, which I think you can do. It's like, well, I don't know what they're called. When you used to sit in the thing and it'd move while you was watching a video, that sort of thing. But a really cool version of that, and it moves, and it's as if you're flying the Millennium Falcon, and absolutely nuts.
And this is open now, did you say, or is it?
It opened certainly within the last couple of weeks, I believe, and they're now currently building the one in Florida as well. So they've spent over $1 billion just on that section alone, which is unreal.
Is there any mention of any kind of key characters being there, like characters being played by staff there?
Well, there are, I believe, when you're in there, again, sort of, what I said about the rebellion warning you about the Empire, the stormtroopers come through. I'm not sure whether sort of Darth Vader turns up and things like that. It did say when you're building your lightsaber, apparently there's a guest appearance, so I don't know, I guess it's one of the Jedi's, come in and make sure you built it properly and things like that. But I don't know. I think, for me, being a fan, I think even though there are possibly the shortfalls of, you are in a theme park and that, I think you would probably get lost in it. So, if you know what I mean. I know when the reviewer was talking about the app on the phone where you walk around and you log things, and apparently there are sort of QR codes you can scan and that. And one of the things he found was this little shop where they had, he thought, I recognise that in there. And it was Boba Fett's, was it jetpack? Where it was in the shop and things like that. Just
little touches. Yeah. That's what it's all about for proper fans like yourself, and if you've got an eye for detail, you'll notice them sort of things.
Exactly.
It sounds incredible, and if it's not an extension on the price of what it is to go to Disney and all that, then even more so to experience it. And I mean, certainly people from the UK where we are will go to Disney for a couple of weeks, won't they? 10 days to 2 weeks. So to take 4 hours out of that time to go and experience that would be incredible.
Yeah, oh, indeed. What I was going to say to you, is can you think of any other franchise really that they could transfer to? Because I don't know. I know Disney owns Marvel now. I don't know. That isn't something. I guess Star Wars has got the benefit of it's based in particular lands, and it's always had a realism that you can create. You can identify in that realism, whereas Marvel, I guess, would be another one, but. Would they create Asgard? I don't know. Would these things work?
They could do the Battle of New York, I guess, which is quite a key moment throughout the 10-year of the phases that we've obviously been through.
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel have done their thing. Do you remember? I was actually asked if I wanted to go to one of the things, but that's not the same. But it's almost like a bit of a workshop where you can see all the a lot of the props and
like the Harry Potter thing.
Yeah, kind of a bit like that. They had one in London not too long ago. I'm not sure if there was any sort of involvement thing on that, not to that level anyway.
No.
And as for other franchises, I mean, one that you'd probably like would be if they'd done a Fast and the Furious one. But I don't know.
I think they do. I'm sure there has been some sort of arena thing that they did with the cars, where you'd be in there and the cars would do stunts and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, well,
Vin Diesel didn't turn up or anything, though, unfortunately.
But don't worry, because if it happens again, obviously John Cena will
John
be there.
Cena will be there, and that'll be the best show ever, yeah.
As he's now signed up. But anyway, yeah, I couldn't think of it. I mean, Harry Potter's not actually a bad one if you think about it from a younger audience.
Already.
Yeah.
In Universal Studios, I think they've got Diagon Alley, which you're not a particular fan, are you, of Harry Potter?
I'm familiar with bits of it, but I'm not a huge fan.
So Diagon Alley is sort of it's where he gets his wands, and there's a wand shop and a sweet shop and all of those sort of things there. And I believe in Universal Studios they completely recreated it, and you can go in each shop, so you have that experience. But I don't know whether it's necessarily on the level of people being in character and that sort of thing. But no.
Interesting stuff. Well, I've got some news from a different topic altogether from over the last week, which friend of the show, Mark, told me to bring up. He sent me the details on it, which is some gaming news regarding Google and their new subscription-based gaming console. It's not really a console; it's all going to be online. So it's a platform. It's coming out in November, I believe, in the UK. And just been reading up about it. It sounds really interesting because even the pricing has been released for it, and I think the standard pricing is something like $8.99 a month, something like that, to subscribe. It's all going to be.
What do you get for the $8.99?
Well, so that's just for general streaming games online. There'll be a catalogue of games that you can access, I guess. But just some of the little touches on this, I thought, from reading the article that Mark sent me, was things like you'll be able to watch like a trailer on YouTube, almost like a YouTube trailer for a game. And if you like the look of it, at the end of the trailer, you'll be able to press play game, and within 5 seconds, you'll be playing that game.
5 seconds.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I mean, your internet speed will play a part on that as well. But I mean, even a lower speed internet, I think it just almost,
I guess it's buffering in the background,
it
isn't it?
impacts
Yeah.
more on the quality of the. So if
Yeah.
you want 4K, you're obviously going to want a higher end internet service. But yeah, so the subscription it says Stadia Pro subscription will set you back $8.99 a month. For this monthly payment, you'll be able to access a library of games to which additional titles will be added regularly. It's mentioned that you can buy games whenever you want, which suggests that some titles, presumably brand new releases, will need to be bought separately, in addition to your subscription. But I mean, when you think about games consoles now, Xbox, PlayStation, we all pay a yearly subscription or a monthly, so you want to do it to play online, and some of them you get a benefit of get a free download of a game every month. But it looks like Google are really going to gonna hit this hard and put quite a bit into it. Some of the other stuff that I read on it, so some of the cool features means that you'll be able to use your Google Assistant to ask for help on certain games if you're struggling with it.
That's mad.
You'll also be
okay, Google, finish this level for me.
Yeah, how do I do this? I mean, I remember the same person, Mark. He gave me Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation 4, which I've still got. I remember playing the first section of it and getting stuck. And then I died, and then it just kept rebooting in the same section. I just kept getting killed, and I thought, I'll give up with this. And I didn't even bother. That is literally as far as I got with that.
For Metal Gear Solid, I think it would be, okay, Google, how long is this cutscene?
Yeah.
This cutscene is 3 hours.
Very long. Great game, though. Don't knock it.
I'm not knocking it.
But also, you'll be able to live stream your gaming experience at any point in the game that you want. So you could show your mates while you're playing it. You could also show your mates live, and then they can join the game while you're playing it as well. Because it's all you won't need a console, so it's literally just going to be on a tablet, on a PC to start with. Actually,
they've
on
got
the
a controller, haven't they? They've
there-
released them.
yeah, there's a controller. It looks like a standard controller now with two sticks in the middle, very much like the PlayStation and Xbox controllers. So there's not a great deal of difference on that. I don't know whether it's got the trigger buttons. They're not in view of the picture that I've got. I think they are releasing it to start with on the Pixel,
right?
Which again is a mobile as well. So even the access to games on that as well sounds awesome. Not that I've got a Pixel, but I know a few people that have. And then we'll start spreading out further to that.
And what has it said about what games
it's
launching with?
Yeah, so there's a few that it's mentioned. I mean, bear in mind these are going to be a lot of these are going to be cross-platform they're intending to do, but they haven't mentioned the ones that you would expect like Fortnite and Rocket League. But that's not to say they won't be coming out. So with regards to games, ones that kind of stand out to me that I recognise, there's one called Wolfenstein, which I remember on the PlayStation, which was supposed to be a good game.
Really, really old game, classic.
Destiny 2 is going to be there. I know a lot of people have talked about Destiny. Samurai Shodown rings a bell. Now, one that obviously screams out to me, Football Manager 2020. Straight away. I mean,
you could play that on dial-up though, couldn't you? It's
exactly. Get out. Also, we've got Elder Scrolls. I think my brother's played that one. So The Crew, The Division, the sequels on them ones. Assassin's Creed's going to be on there. So and then sports games with NBA 2K. So that some of the 2K games might be heading that way. Borderlands, which I feel like you might have mentioned to me. Mortal Kombat 11. God, that's still going.
I'm really surprised you saying that. I can't believe that they're still knocking those games out. I saw a trailer for that recently, and they're going into this sort of hyper-realistic violence on them, like really gory finishing moves and that. So they stick to,
And just one to finish on with, which are games that have been released, which is one of their headline ones, which is Doom Eternal. Now, Doom
Right.
was obviously one of
was
the
gonna say.
classic PC games from back in
Yeah.
the day. I remember playing that when I was really young, and
Yeah.
so that's going to be on there. So I mean, they've got, but by all accounts, and there's a fair few more to add to that. But by all accounts, it's going to be, you know, quite a nice library of games
Yeah.
to start off with, and with it being Google, you can only see it expanding as well. But some of the other things, it does say that it's going to be able to cross-play, as I mentioned before, so cross-platform with PlayStation, Xbox, etc.
Right.
As I say, it's going live in November. We're hearing a lot about new platforms for gaming, and a lot of it now is seeming to going down the line of subscription-based,
Yeah.
you know, streaming of games. We've talked a little bit before about Amazon doing it, going
Yeah.
down that road potentially. I think they have revealed some stuff, not to this level just yet. But yeah, it'd be nice to have, you know, a new player on the market as such in competition with PlayStation and Xbox.
Definitely. I think it's all down, you know, with all of these things, and the parallel is for me. It just says to me basically Spotify, but for games, and I think what, you know, with those services, I go with Spotify because it offers such a diverse mix of stuff, or music, and you know, old stuff, obscure stuff, new stuff. Whereas when you go to, I know, Amazon Music, they tend to stick to the more common things, or you know, Apple Music again, it you know, offers their radio stations that they all offer a different flavor of the same thing.
Yeah,
I think that's where Google have to do it, is to, if you're competing against something like Xbox, or Steam, even, then they're
yeah,
sort of, you know, competing against, you've just got to have things that people want to play now, because the market is becoming quite fragmented. Epic are now trying to set up a competitor to Steam. They sell titles exclusively, and that I'd prefer if it didn't come like that, where I have to go to this to. But PlayStation do it a lot, don't they? Oh, you have to have PlayStation to play this
play this
particular
game.
game.
Yeah.
It's a real shame. It should be available everywhere, and it's nice that they're doing that cross-party thing as well, isn't
But
it?
that used to always be the way, though, didn't it? I think even when we go back as far as Nintendo and Sega, you
Oh yeah,
always had
Sonic
their
versus
own.
Mario, isn't it?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Yeah, I mean, that used to be the appeal, I think, the selling point. And if anything, for a console or a developer, they would want their unique titles that are for that platform only,
yeah,
to be the selling point. I think we touched upon it before, but with Xbox, I was always PlayStation growing up, but I did buy an Xbox purely for Halo and Gears of War.
yeah,
You know, them games I'd play them around my friend's house, and then I was hooked. You know, I wanted to
yeah.
play that game, and I couldn't play it on PlayStation, so had to end up. So you can see why they tend to do that. It'd be you know, a lot nicer, but then would that take away the element of, you know, it would take the selling point away from them respective brands.
And I guess with both of those titles you mentioned, they're both exclusive to Xbox, but I believe certainly in regards to Bungie, who did Halo, can't remember who did Gears of War, but I'm sure they're both Microsoft-owned game studios that produced those games. And it was only in the past week Microsoft uh, acquired another games company, and I can't remember. It's a really big one. I can't remember the company it is. But I think that's the route they're going to remain competitive. Is they're picking up these interesting smaller studios that produce really good quality games, and then that sort of, you know, dictates their future. And then they know they're getting those cool games for their service. But it was a couple of weeks ago. I don't know whether you saw that Sony and Microsoft announced that they're working together on. I don't think they announced exactly what it was they were going to do, but it's to do with game streaming and online services. They're going to collaborate in some way, which I thought was quite interesting. The two of them, two of the big players or biggest players even,
In gaming, yeah.
doing that. Yeah,
Is that to do with as well it all being cross-platform
I
between the
believe
two?
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think I did catch something about that. But I think this is, I mean, we've talked about it a bit recently off the show, with regards to games now and how they're changing. I mean, you play a little bit of Fortnite.
Yeah.
And you was explaining to me about the world of Fortnite developing and different stories happening in game live, and volcanoes erupting and everyone waiting for it. I mean, if that is the future of gaming, I think that's an incredible way to go, because, for someone like me who's, I'll openly admit I don't play a lot of games other than football games, really.
Yeah.
I've probably played more games when I was younger, but now I've kind of, I haven't got the time to, really.
It's a time thing,
to
exactly.
be honest. Yeah, of course it is. But when you talk to me about things like Fortnite and what's going on in that, it just sounds like, it's new territory, really, in that you can play a game and that it changes, that, there's not a set, you start here and this is where the game ends. Yeah, it develops, and the creators of it can go, right, I'm going to drop a new update for this game, which is going to create something over here, which they'll have to discover. And a bit, I mean, I'm crossing over into different territory here, but a bit like what we were saying about Westworld, and that going in there and having that open world and being able to discover different things happening which you don't know are happening. Sounds like that in a game.
That. Yeah, exactly that. And the weird thing with, I think what makes Fortnite so successful as a game is really that, in the sense of there aren't any rules. You've got a game which is a very simple premise. You're on an island. You've got to take out your opponents using whatever weapons you find. So it's fairly simple. But what they've added challenges. I was doing some challenges on Fortnite last night, for example, and the challenges were, you had to find the racetracks that were hidden around the island. One was really obvious, but the other ones are slightly more discreet, and do a lap of the course. So the game's still going on, though. You're still having to look out for people who are going to shoot you and so on.
Okay, but that's an additional thing, yeah.
You find this little racetrack, and you get in there the balls that you can ride in, or little quad bikes that are part of the game. And you wait in the starting grid, and the lights, it counts down, and the lights go, and then you have to drive through these rings like you do in a lot of games to complete the lap, and then that's your challenge done, all within the game. So things like that.
And were other people racing you at the same time while you're doing this? So, because obviously, if there's loads of
they could
people,
be, because there's nothing stopping them. It just so happened that the people, because when you start in Fortnite, you come on the battle bus, and it's up to you where you want to jump out. So you can choose where you go. So it's, it can be a tactical thing. You want to go somewhere remote so that you can get what you need before you get into the battle. Some people want to go straight into the battle. So it's pot luck. But when I played, particularly in that snowy one, I was just about to get in my little ball, and some dude is standing there watching me, who was on the other team. So I shot him. The reality of that situation. But I think the other thing that Fortnite does so well is exactly what you said a minute ago, is it opens up. You can play that game anywhere, literally anywhere, and it's very, plays on what you said about the Google thing. Is once you link your Epic account to all your devices, you can be playing a game on your Xbox, you can put that down, you could go on your PC and you could play it. You could then be on the bus and you could be playing it on a mobile phone. You could, on a tablet, anywhere. That game is free, available on any platform, pretty much. You just pick it up and you go. And it's still your account, it's still all your sort of cosmetic stuff that you've got for the skins and the weapons and all of that stuff is still yours. It's still your account. You still link to all your friends because it's cross-platform compatible. You can talk to your friends via the game chat. There are no limits in terms of how you digest that. And I think it's the polar opposite to Xbox and Sony saying, "Oh no, you can only do that on their console." But it's such a positive experience, in that sense, isn't it? Really is the future, I think. And they are releasing my final point on it. They're Epic, who make the game, I believe, are putting that technology out so that other companies can use it to make that like the toolkit almost that they can then use, set up their own cross-platform games, I believe.
Because if this is the start, really, you think like games like Zelda, open world games like that. Zelda's huge for that back in the day, where you could go where you want. There was a game to follow, but it could just open up so many different avenues for different games. Obviously, the games, like I say, that I've played, it wouldn't really affect, games like FIFA or things like that. It's not going to change what happens in that as such.
The multi-platform will, I guess, won't it?
Yeah,
in terms of being able to play in that way. But yeah, it's incredible, and it makes you ask the question: why shouldn't you be able to do that? If you so many other things you can. I think I remember when, which probably over 10 years ago, when Microsoft started talking and the company started talking about cloud computing. And it was this thing where you thought, well, I don't quite know how that works or how that's going to fit in. Now, you use something like OneDrive, without even thinking about it. No one even really calls it cloud computing anymore. It's just your own personal server that you move stuff around on. You can access wherever you want.
Yeah.
And why shouldn't you? It's an absolute joy. And I guess that's where gaming's going, isn't it?
Yeah. But even with the games, nowadays, the amount of times when you'll switch your console on and you'll go to play your game and it'll say there's an update waiting to be installed, a new update, and it's just fixing a glitch or it's adding something, to it to download. In your case for Fortnite, I'm guessing they happen quite regularly. But even with something like FIFA, like I'll compare it to, a lot of the time I'll switch that and there's a new update because someone's reported something that they didn't this particular aspect
something
of the
doesn't
game
work.
Something doesn't work, or we've noticed it's quite easy to score this way, so can you fix this? So they'll go on and make it more difficult. And so really it's not that difficult now for even Xbox, PlayStation, all of them to do that sort of stuff.
No, it does drive me mad. I think I said this to you the other day though, when I switched on Rocket League to have a cheeky couple of games, and the download to update it to the I can't remember, Summer Madness or the 80s theme thing that they're doing now, 5.3 gig. And when you switch on to, you can't play this, you've got to download 5.3 gigs worth of info. I'm like, my God. It doesn't take that long, but it's...
Is that on your PC or on Xbox?
That was on the Xbox.
Yeah.
And that I guess that Fortnite is a very similar offender for that, because they do such overhaul, such quite a big overhaul in the different cosmetic items that on a regular basis. Sometimes that is similar. You put it on it, I've got to do 3 gig. It'd be nice if they had it running in the background, a bit like Windows updates itself as you're doing it. If you could do that a little bit easier, that might be nice. But
yeah, well, PlayStation does that to some extent, but then you can't access online features. So if you're playing online, which the games we've just mentioned are, then you wouldn't be able to do it. But for games that you might be playing a story mode or just a season mode in FIFA, for example, a download can be happening in the background. It's just if you want to access online features. So if you're playing online, it won't work.
Yeah.
Just a final, again, changing in another direction, but we haven't had a show for a couple of weeks, but something we talked about, we saw the trailer for Swamp Thing.
Thought it looked great.
Yeah, thought it looked great, very different, especially for DC as well. Almost a bit kind of horror, thriller. Sort of it was quite dark, the trailer for it. But it's part of the DC universe, so keep that in mind. Well, we thought it looked good, but someone obviously didn't, because apparently, I don't think it's even been released yet either.
I don't know whether it has, though.
And we thought it was a movie when we saw the trailer, didn't we? But they've come out and now said that they've actually cancelled the show after season 1 So it's a season which just looking. I don't know what platform it's coming out on, whether it'll be on TV or
I don't.
Netflix, whatever. But yeah, and it's been cut from 13 episodes to 10.
What worries me with that is what kind of, if you're, well, first thing that worries me, we thought it was a film,
Yeah,
and clearly that it
didn't
hasn't
mention
been
it, did it?
advertised. No, exactly, it didn't. I thought, oh no, looks like quite a good film.
Mm.
Apparently isn't. But if you've planned a story over 13 episodes and then you cut it to 10, how's that going to affect the story?
Well,
You know,
I'm just looking at the article again. There is a bit of information. So the 10 episodes will all be shown on DC Universe. So that's obviously an online platform that I never knew
right.
that. With the second episode airing on the service on Friday as planned. So that would have been last Friday or a couple of weeks
Okay.
ago. So last Friday, I think that would have been. But according to reports, or to rumours, they've shut it down due to the parent company, AT&T, not being happy with the tone of the series. So maybe it is because
Maybe
of
it's too horror.
too dark. Yeah, maybe. But then sometimes you need that, I think, to
What's wrong
mix
with
it up a
that?
bit
Yeah.
because, we've talked about Marvel before, and the stuff that they released on Netflix was a lot darker than
Yeah.
the movies or the shows on, on E4 or whatever show that's televised.
Yeah.
So the online stuff, all of them, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, all of them franchise, that was dark. So
Yeah.
this being dark, had something different. I remember
What's wrong with that? Yeah.
Swamp Thing is something I remember from when I was younger, more probably from a comic side.
Yeah.
And obviously it wasn't that dark then, if I was looking at it, but
No, I think it wasn't because I'm sure there were some films in the 80s of Swamp Thing, and I'm sure they were weren't they quite comedy? I don't
yeah,
know.
I think so. Yeah, but maybe like a dark comedy. But I think that was the appeal, certainly to you and me.
Mm.
That was the appeal when we saw the trailer for this because it just looked a bit different, really,
It
didn't
looked
it?
refreshing. It
Yeah.
looked like, and uh, love or hate the DC things. We've said it before on this on the podcast that they sort of lost their direction a bit, and they seemed to be sort of chasing something, but they didn't quite know what it was. And to come out with something like this and purely based on that trailer, you thought,
Mm,
oh, great. I personally thought, great, they're trying something new,
mm,
and this looks pretty cool. I'd quite like to watch that.
mm.
Yeah, apparently not.
It didn't even look like one of them trailers. Sometimes you watch them, and DC's been um, quite what's the word I'm looking for? They've done this quite a few times, really, where they've released a trailer and it's almost shown all the key bits from the
All the good
movie. Do
bits are
you
out
know
there.
what I mean? And then you watch it and
Suicide
you're like,
Squad, for example,
yeah,
something
that
like
was
that.
very much like that. Yeah, but this didn't even look. They looked like they were holding back quite a lot.
Yeah.
You get the
You
gist
could
of
sort of
what it
guess
is.
parts, but it
Yeah,
wasn't giving it all away.
yeah.
Yeah, dear me.
So
But
DC still going strong.
it'll be interesting though whether and it has again something we've talked about recently that's happened. Do you reckon it will come out? People watch it, and if it's successful enough, and they get the viewers or whatever they want, or there's some sort of people actually engage with it and do some sort of campaign that maybe they will make more. You never know.
Mm, possibly.
Because things have changed, with these films,
Mm.
with films, and we were talking about the Sonic thing where they redesigned Sonic because he looked awful, and various bits.
That's the
It could
thing.
be.
So it surprises me that they've already scrapped moving on to a second series because if they could easily write it a different way or
Mm,
take it in a different direction. But I'm just now a bit more intrigued about the DC Universe platform because there's another little line
I
in there
never knew it
saying,
existed.
no, it says, as to the state of the DC Universe service at the moment, the Harley Quinn animated series is set to debut in the fall. The
Right,
first season of Stargirl is in production.
right.
Titans season 2 is filming, and no word yet on the renewal for Doom Patrol. So, I mean, I'm not familiar with that, but interesting. I'm quite intrigued now. I probably have to follow up on
Feeling
that
they're
and see
doing
a
all
bit
right
more.
with it.
Yeah, well, obviously Disney are going in that direction of having their own streaming service. Maybe DC have already started that, and we just didn't catch
Who
the wave
knew?
of that. Yeah.
But I think the comparison, I would say, with a recent thing that we've spoken about, which is a similar situation, but almost sort of in reverse. Venom, I was saying about watching that the other night, and Venom, I feel could have it would have helped if it had gone in a slightly darker direction, because it felt like they were trying to make a darker film, but then just threw comedy at it, and it didn't quite fit. And I don't know how well that did in the box office, but it was okay as a film. It was a perfectly watchable film. But they've already planned a sequel. So it's almost the opposite. They made Marvel made an okay film, didn't quite get it right, but they're still pushing ahead with a sequel. DC made what looked like a pretty good series, and they're already, no, we're not going to do it.
And this is the thing: the trailers are the selling points, aren't they? Well, it's what lures you in to go and see a movie or watch a program, and to have one. I mean, it's just mine and your opinion is that it looks good, but for the actual parent company to be the ones to come out and say they're not happy with the tone of it, you think they would have had a view on that a lot.
They signed off on it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. That's it's just very strange, and I haven't seen Venom, but from what you said, it sounds very much along the lines of what Marvel have done with a few of the films, where they've tried to add in a comedy element to them, which I don't mind in doses, but it depends on. And Venom is not a character that I associate with comedy. It's more sadistic, I think, of with Venom. But without seeing the film, I can't judge. I can just take your word for it. But interesting to see where these two respective titles go.
Indeed. Well, I think that's covered everything for today. So thank you again for listening.
Indeed, and if you want to find out when our episodes are released and any other information, you can follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. And obviously, the main point for looking for where the podcast is on Anchor, and that has all the links on there for Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. So find us at This Week in Metropolis.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening. Transmission over.